Okay, so here we are back in Telepath tactics. Hey Gulch, word among the men as we got ourselves a prisoner. You heard right. Nah, one too. We caught ourselves a black sprigget. I've never seen a sprigget up close before. Me neither. Freaky looking thing it is, I tell ya. It makes me glad they're not native to the Isles. Still, I fear we can carve her up and sell her parts for a shiny hollow aura. What's that face about? That seems a little over the top. Not at all. There's collectors that'll pay awful well for a sprigget's horns. Wings, too. Can't we just put her to work? Some anarchist you are. In a free world, the strong take what they want. Remember Zim? Yeah, but just because we can, that doesn't mean we have to. It just seems cruel. Look at Zimmer here, getting pangs of conscience over our little sprigget. You need to have a little cry? Listen up, Noodle. That sprigget's gonna pay for meals and equipment for the whole damn outfit for months. If you have some kind of problem with that, you know where the road is. But of course, you also know what Igor does to deserters. He smiles cruelly, patting the haft of his axe. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, enough whining. Go make yourself useful. I've got work to do. So, are we able to recruit him or no? Those monsters. If that's where they're... Is that where they're keeping her, in that bunker on the hill? It certainly looks like it. I don't know where else they hold a winged prisoner out here. Emma, there have to be at least 24 bandits here. We can't fight this many at once. There are only a few guards watching the cage. I think it can be done. We just have to move quickly before the entire encampment realizes what's happening. Emma, if this doesn't work, promise me we're going to run. We're not dying here. If it becomes clear we can't do it, we'll meet back up here among the trees and run for it. Hang on, kid. We're coming for you. Oh, sweet watcher, please let this work. Okay, I'm chiming in here after the fact. I didn't record live because, well, to be perfectly blunt right now, where I'm currently at in live version, I don't know what you want to refer to it, but where I'm currently playing from, I am unable to pass due to the game freezing constantly, and these problems have started all the way back in this video. So, to give you an example, I think I'm all the way up to like 6 videos recorded. This is video 3. And this was my first encounter with the whole game freezing. You may have noticed at the beginning my formation changed. The reason for that is because, lo and behold, when I did the live recording where I was actually reading stuff out loud, I got about 20 minutes into the fight actually trying to mow all these guys down, and then the game froze. And if you remember how you can't save or anything or suspend, or there's no checkpoints, there's literally nothing. So when the game locks up, it's basically a giant fuck you, and yeah. So this fight, I don't remember how many times I actually had to try to play it to get far enough in, well, just to clear it. The update has gone through to where it's supposed to be extremely difficult to actually kill everyone here. And I don't know if the devs intended it to be because your weapons won't actually hold out that long, or why, but when I actually tried mowing them down, the main problem I ran into is just that the guys weren't dropping items, and as a result, my weapons just started to give out one by one. If you're wondering, reinforcements will arrive partway through this fight, and that's why eventually they are supposed to overwhelm you, but it's just the way the equip system works, kind of like Fire Emblem. It just it gives up. So for the battle at hand, I left, I can't remember the healer's name right now. I let her sit back an extra turn to regen more energy than normal because I knew I was going to be spamming her heal quite a bit. For her, I don't plan on having her fight. She pretty much is just a heal bot. And fortunately, since the Pyro guy set Scarlet on fire, that is the stats effect persists for something like 4 turns, I think. I don't know if it's fixed damage or percent, but as a result, Scarlet's going to lose somewhere between 12 to 16 hit points just due to that one status effect. And at the time, I didn't know how to actually get rid of the burn effect because they don't explain anything to you for the most part. If you're curious on how to get rid of it, you have to knock your character into the water to douse it. And depending on what water you knock them into, they will lose their turn and also take damage, which kind of defeats the point of the whole status effect. But as for the fight here, we need to get up there, flip the switch to release Meridian, and then someone actually has to carry her. By carrying Meridian, you lose 2 movement points, or whatever you want to think about, your ability to move squares. So as a result, I'm going to have Scarlet do the carrying, while the rest of the team plays support. And right here is one of your good bottlenecks to where you can take out a good number of enemies. You want to have your melee units serve as a wall of sorts. The healer needs to just cover them, while the archer types, one uses a crossbow. I don't know what their actual jobs are now that I think about it. And then your photokinetic guy on the back line, just bombard them. Since the light move has 2 range, it's almost ideal to just park him behind someone and then shoot over their shoulders. So right here, arc shot. I don't know what exactly determines the accuracy for that thing, but I've only seen it hit like once so far. I have probably like a dozen shots. I've never fired it myself because I don't really feel it's worth the stress of the weapon. Speaking of weapons, my one sword finally gave out, and now I have to use my other rusted sword. Sadly, I have yet to encounter another shop as of the live recording, and right there is one of the things that kind of confused me with how the ramps work. So the diagonals actually count as being on the ground below, and you can't swing up at all as far as I know. You can shoot up, but well, there's supposed to be a damage penalty, I don't know. And one thing I can talk about is, I don't know what exactly Scarlet is supposed to be used for. The thing that I kind of figured is just make her tanky, that way she can run and serve as a bottleneck, or potentially just pick off someone who's wounded, because even now I can't really get her to deal serious damage. Her lance, if you notice, barely does anything. 10 damage. It's not too bad just yet, but I can't get that to go up at all. And when everyone else starts going up in power, the only thing she has going for her is mobility. So one of the things I noticed while playing around is that your stat gain on level up is pretty much random. You are now capped at 4 counters as of the previous patch, but everything else, as far as I know, doesn't exactly have a limit. I'm guessing like the resistances and dodge probably do cap out at 100, but I think the level cap is like 30, so it's just not possible to achieve those. So right here they are going to do a number on me, and sadly because of the way the counter system works, I now end up having to expose that character's back. The good news is, the way she's positioned, only one archer can shoot her from that direction, but the other one, as you can see, can just shoot from a different angle. So I wasn't exactly sure if she was going to survive that, and as you may have guessed, right now I need to free a path leading to her for the healer to reach. And you might guess why Farasada is one of my favorite characters so far into the game. That light blast is incredibly annoying. I already have the pyrokinetic where I can inflict the burn with their analogous move, but the blind I think is a lot better since you can kind of waste the enemy's turn by denying them the ability to attack. And I don't know if there are any other mage types other than light and fire, but we'll see. So I wanted to check that she had enough energy to actually do anything, and I didn't want to have the knight character attack, I can't tell which sister that is from here, until I knew she could be healed, because she's not one of the types that can actually attack after moving. Sadly, it's not quite like Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics, where you can attack, then move, or move, attack. It's really up to you in those games. Here, there are certain guys, when they make a move, it's just the end of their turn. No discussion. So, as you can see, the character is still far from being out of the woods, but I can pop sprint, and I had her go run and flip the switch. Flipping the switch does count as your action for that turn, so you can't actually bust open the chest. And right here I had Scarlet go ahead and grab Meridian and start moving. So her 7 movement is reduced to 5 for the reasons I mentioned earlier. And I can still stab the guy this turn. So setting him up for the kill while still keeping Scarlet relevant in terms of EXP. Madeline was not able to secure the kill, but that's just something Gabrielle can do for us. And of course the nice thing about Scarlet is just that she can keep moving after making her attack, so I can still use her as kind of like a pick-off or have her do stuff on the way out. If I used one of the other characters other than Gabrielle, I wouldn't be able to finish the mission while still attacking. And one thing that I can explain while we have a moment is that right here I'm positioning Gabrielle to open the chest next turn, and I can still make my retreat, if you're wondering. Dropping some snare traps here to keep the one sister, I think it's Sabrina, who has the trap move. It's a nice way to keep having her generate EXP, and the enemies who step in it or get knocked into the traps will get stunned. The enemies will ignore them if they have the ability to attack someone beyond the trap, but if they don't have the movement, then they will attack the trap first. So this fight ends when you send Meridian back to the one white square. I don't think you have to do anything else with any of the other characters, so you can actually set up a bottleneck and try to farm the enemies, but the problem you're going to have is just sooner or later your weapons are going to give out. Probably could take advantage of the high ground, shoot those guys approaching, and definitely get my worth from the bows. But if you had more mage characters, I think you definitely could farm here. It's just, with just Farasat, your options are really, really limited. So right here I'm trying to get a feel for how much energy she has, because I need to just keep healing, and I don't want to run out and not have any energy for a bigger spell when I need it. So Madeline and Sabrina are going to make a defensive line. I'm going to keep spreading out the snare traps to stun those guys when they try to move in. The big fish on the map is in the bottom right corner. It's a spear guy who's like level 6 or 7. And they don't actually teach you to knock enemies into the water just yet, but since he's approaching from the bottom, that actually is a decent tactic to use on him. You can have him take the water damage, and like I said a second ago, falling in the water costs you a turn since you have to swim out. Right there's the spear guy coming up. I think that's an archer type behind him. And you can see right there I got 2 guys step into the snares, and as a result they are stunned and lose their turn. You can use that to have Sabrina cover her flank. You can definitely bait enemies into stepping into it, and it's something that I exploit as we keep going through the game. So, holding on to Meridian isn't necessarily a reason not to attack. I'm going to have Farasat use his Light Blast, and that looks like... I can't see the numbers clearly, but... No, that was 10, not 18. And that allows Scarlet to go here and still pick him off. Now, I don't know if Scarlet died while carrying the character, if that would be an instant game over, or... if, like, Meridian falls to the ground, someone else could pick her up. I don't really intend on losing any of the characters to actually experiment with that, but it's just something that I thought up while watching this. So, axe to the back. That allows Madeline to level up, and she is my highest level character at the moment. As I play through, Sabrina is going to catch up to her since I'm kind of abusing the snare traps. Right there I used a bandage to heal her up a bit, because I think I actually got some in that chest. I couldn't see the names of the items that were picked up. But now the other sister's in prime shape. And you can see all the enemies up there. Still is possible to kill them, it's just you're going to be looking at an extra 15 to 20 minutes on the video to do so, since you kind of have to funnel them in. But while we wait for the enemy to make all their moves, one good thing I can say about the newest patch is that it allows you to save your game in other files, so you can do multiple runs or create backup saves so you don't get screwed out of stuff. That is the single best change so far. Then there are various stability issues that are still with the game, some are being addressed. I'm right before one of the areas that I know has a problem of glitching enemies so that they simply cannot die. But that's not the concern I have right now, since where I'm currently at, the game will just keep locking up. So right there I used Gabrielle for the pickoff. Now I didn't want to block Madeline in, so I moved her first. I'm pulling Emma back a bit, and I want to start a new line over here. I don't want to stand next to the wall because the archers can shoot down at me and they can kind of pick someone off if you're not expecting it. But in the meantime, I can go ahead and drop a trap and start making my retreat a little bit until I can create the next kill zone. And if you want, you actually could stay here. This is not exactly too bad, but the problem is that I have Scarlet carrying Meridian. So for the level to end, Scarlet is the one that has to go back. And, well, she's one of the tanky guys that I'm kind of relying on. If you remember the end of the previous video, I believe I bought her a shield so she takes less damage. And she's definitely one of the ones I need for a bottleneck. If you're wondering, I will kill the spear guy, I believe. He's going to loop around the bot right there. I think I have the archers and Farsot pick them off while I just keep moving further and further to the exit. So I want to get Louise, I think that's her name? Yeah, Louise. To where I actually want to kind of create the kill zone, because if I can have her sit still, she can start generating more energy, and more energy, of course, is more heals. So if you're wondering why I didn't have Gabrielle shoot as she went back, due to the way the elevation works, it would be a weaker than normal attack, and as a result, just be a waste of my bow, and there's no guarantee on when I will actually get to shop for a new one. And that's the main problem I have with the game right now. If you actually decide to try to kill all these guys and you didn't stock up on weapons from the previous merchant, you're going to have problems in the next mission just because there'll be enemies there and you don't have anything to hit them with. Right there you can see the trap is within his range, so he will shoot at it. If there were a different target, he'd ignore it completely. And the good news is the trap still got to snare a guy. Bad news is that kind of keeps him grouped up with the others when I want to space them out a bit so I can more efficiently kill them. In the end, not really a big thing, it's just, well, I can't kill them anyway. So right here I'm trying to figure out the ideal positioning, and I also wanted to look at Farasat's new move. From what I understand, something that gives you a surge of evasion, so you can kind of have someone tank a lot of stuff, and they'll actually dodge the incoming attacks. So the way it can work is you can have, like right there, the elevation wasn't really a problem, so I had Gabriel take a quick shot at him. It costs 5 energy, I believe, and you can try to use that to mitigate a turn for Luis to just sit there and regen energy in the event you needed it. Otherwise, I don't really see much purpose for the move unless you have reason to believe that the enemy is going to focus one target in particular, in which case you can just use that to mitigate everything. So I'm far enough down now to where the enemy wants to take the lower route rather than up the hill. And there's another snare. You can see one is away from the others, so that makes him pretty easy to pick off. And you can see that they're starting to I guess the word would be stratify, maybe, how they're breaking off into levels. And that would be the secret to picking them off, if not for the weapon problem. So Louise got a turn to sit. I can have her use the Mind Shield to top off whichever sister that was. Moving Madeline back a bit to cover that one sister's flank. And I'm going to use the Snare Trap to cover another flank. I want it over there too, so I can have Sabrina face forward while Emma faces the side. And right there, that's basically just tempting the enemy into stepping in that trap. So I'm having Farasat stay stationary so he can charge some energy. I'm going to be using a lot of light in a moment, so the more he has, the longer he'll go before he finally runs out. And you may notice there are healers on the field now. Maybe just one. Yeah, I'm only seeing the one. The good news is he's off on his own, so it's not like he can actually help any of his teammates just due to no one's there to. He's not there for the guys who actually need it. If you wait too long and you're not actually picking the enemies off, he can become a bit of a nuisance. It's just once you do take down a certain number of them, you'll actually get some additional stats as well that will make it easier and easier for you to pick off enemies. So strength affects the physical weapons such as swords, bows, spears, lances, axes, all of those. Then the psi points refer to the spells of the casters. So that's what actually makes Farasat's spells do even more. It also affects Louise's heals, and when we get Rebecca, it will also affect her fire spells. And if you're wondering, you're not going to be seeing her for 2 more videos, I think. I think she's in video 5. So right here I was trying to figure out, do I get a better return by attacking him from the side at a longer range or closer range to the face? And hopefully you see range is more important. So Lakshmi did level up there. She got a point in strength, which means her bolts are going to be hurting all the more. So you can see side defense went up. That means he'll take slightly less damage from spells like Rebecca's. But I don't really plan on sticking in this map long enough for the spellcasters to actually start hurting me. So replacing the snare trap, hoping I can bait another enemy into it. Also gives her a level up, she gets counter and health. And I figure the enemy in front of me kind of needs to die. So I had her attack him in the event that he actually drops something. That way I could have Sabrina pick it up and then stay where she is. Instead, Madeline just hit him so hard there was absolutely nothing left, not even loot. So right there they're targeting Louise. That's fine because I can have her heal, and the only ones that really are dangerous to her are the ranged guys, since the other ones have to get through that front line. And sadly, I actually leave Scarlet over there since I figure worst can worst, I can always have her dash to safety. When in reality, I actually could have just brought her around and added her damage in. Ever so slight, yes, but every once in a while that is enough to make a difference. Plus, I can have her run up and try to stab some of the archers, but the drawback to that is, with 2 less points, it's not likely for her to actually get behind them and get the backstab. With 7, definitely possible, and depending on the map and the positioning, could be very much worthwhile. So, Spear Dude has arrived, and I need to try to find the optimal way to kill him. One of which involves the Light Blast from Farsot. If you notice, that blinded him, so his accuracy took a dive. Moving Lakshmi to shoot him in the face, since we established that's the best way to damage him. As for Gavriel, I could move her to try to shoot him in the back, but that would leave me open to the guys over on the right, which is not something I actually wanted. And I moved Gavriel there just to kind of prevent him from getting into my backline, maybe hitting Luis. Like right there, I think Luis actually got a point in Psi offense, so her heal's worth 1 more than it used to be. So right here I wanted to make sure that I navigated around my trap. The trap does not distinguish between friend or foe. Whoever steps in it gets stunned. So the healer is coming around bot, the spear guy is kind of on his last legs, and you can see the blind just made him miss Lakshmi. Bad news is the one sister's back was open, she took an axe there, but she's far enough ahead in terms of levels to where it's not that punishing. And I also have enough counters to really cut into the enemy. So you can see that the herd is pretty much thinning out. Like I said earlier, it's very much possible to actually kill everything here. It's just weapons. So sadly I couldn't blind the one guy who just shot Lakshmi, and this is one of the parts where you actually risk getting overwhelmed. If you're willing to use bandages and you actually bought some from the merchant, you'll be pretty well off and you can do stuff here. Having Gavriel pick him off, since she has enough damage to kill him, and that will also allow me to start running Lakshmi back. So we got a counter on the archer, which is fine. I think the archer is probably the only character where counterattacking more than 4 times might be possible. It's just the melee units, since they can only be surrounded on 4 sides. The only way the counter could actually work is if you would kill an enemy with the counterattack to free the tile for another enemy to take. And that's something I just don't see happening. So popping sprint, gotta get to the next choke point, making sure that I don't step into the snare trap, because that would be the end of whoever happens to get caught. So dropping 1 more snare to kind of separate these guys so I can pick them off. And the end of the fight is coming right here because I don't actually know yet how to end it. So my new trap just got shredded. Scarlet eats an arrow, but she's tanky enough to do so. Farsot has to take the axe hit for Lakshmi. And I really don't know why he went ahead and stepped into that trap. And you can see at max range the bows aren't really that impressive. She only took 3 damage and she also only dealt 6. That was not an armored enemy or anything, which means there's really no excuse for dealing that little damage. But nothing else, you do get EXP, so it's not a total loss, even though it's a little stress on the bow. I think the one archer guy that I killed outside of Meridian's cell did drop a bow, so if anyone can kind of afford it, would be Gabrielle. And here I'm trying to figure out the optimal position to try to see if I can get a couple more kills before I need to run. Now right here, if you notice, Louise's back is open and she's half dead. So I need to act accordingly to try to protect her. The archers will not be able to attack her from her left side, and by moving the sisters here, that covers her back since she'll be outside of bow range from the two trees. As for Gabrielle, I'm going to cancel that turn, I think, so I can have her shoot before going back. Come on, push Z. Yeah, here we go. Since the archer only has 12 hit points, the next wave of 6 damage was more than enough to actually kill him. And as a result, that's one less ranged enemy that I have to worry about. I can give the enemy their turn, and this is the end of the fight. So I did have to expose the one sister's back to save Louise. Kind of worth it because of the way the HP totals played out. And if I knew what I knew now, I'd definitely make that bow guy suffer for what he just did. And if you're wondering how is Meridian in battle, you'll find out in video, I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I think it's 5 when I actually use Meridian. Well, we'll see. So right now I did allow them to group up. This is pretty much the point of no return. Since I let them actually converge here, there's no way for me to regain this ground. If you want to actually mow them all down, like right here I tried to have Madeline step on the square. I'm looking to see if there's something I have to push to have her retreat, but it's the character with Meridian that has to run. So in order to actually clear them, you'd have to keep them a little bit separated. Like right here we have 5 guys on the top, we have 5 on the bottom, and 2 on the right side of the screen. There's 12 of them to the 8 characters I have here, since Meridian is not fighting. Oh yeah, I think I was talking about Meridian. So she is level 1, sadly. That's probably the place to start. She has 2 moves. The big advantage to using her is that I believe she can move 6 spaces, and she is a flying unit, so she can fly over trees and all the other minor obstacles. Right, there's the escape, and like I said, if I didn't have to move the other guys, I should have had them attack, instead of just risking having them sitting around here and getting mowed down. So, did I actually let this run? Looks like I did. You can click to kind of skip this. I'll be doing that in the future videos, I think. And from there we're immediately tossed into the next battle. We'll be picking up here next time, and Rebecca's here. So, I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.